She was here last night and said, I gotta get home now. You wanna have a shot? Check your texts. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Is Caitlin coming?
She's on her way. Tracie's on her way. They had to attend to. Oh, okay. So she'll be here. Okay, good. You said Kate.
I saw that she was on university.
Oh, he's asking my dad. Oh, you said she's on university right now?
Yeah, we call
She
her.
was.
Oh.
Tom Cook was rugby time. Well, the first time we ever had to speak, it was like 10 ride. And somebody came up to me and said, "What's your plan B?" My plan B is I'm not going to yell But he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Martha. I forgot to tell you. I like to get there right on time." Now I know that. And to you too.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful mother.
I have a wonderful mother and a fur child. 2 fur children.
Did you see who's in the back? Marcella.
Oh my goodness.
Get everything you need.
2 minutes is not enough time for me to say hello.
But you got everything you needed.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, that's a lovely call and response. We love that. My name is Chloe A. McElroy. I would like to welcome you to the University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Sorry, I started to say society. That's what we used to go by. If you wouldn't mind taking the time right now to silence your wonderful little doodads that make noise, and put them either on putting them either on vibrate or on silent or turning them off, whichever one pleases you the most, just as long as they don't make noise. Alrighty, we just had the prelude, which is I Often Go Walking, performed by Alicia Tran. Thank you, Alicia. Let's see, what did oh yes. I also forgot to cover that I use she, her pronouns, and I am about 5'4", a fake redhead wearing a I Am Knuff shirt, just in case anybody can't see me. All right. Just a reminder that it is cold and flu season, and as much as we love sharing our sacred space together, we don't like sharing your germs. So if you have a cold or a cough, or you're just feeling under the weather, we appreciate it if you keep your germs at home and join us online instead. We also like to cover our bases and make sure that everyone knows where the exits are. We have the front door, which is to my left and your right. We have the back door, which is to my right and your left. We also have the door going out to the back memorial garden here that has a gate that exits out into our playground area. So we have many exits to choose from should you need to exit. Let's see where I am now. All right. Also, if you brought anything for Knight's Pantry, I believe we still are, yes, we still have a box over here that we're collecting for Knight's Pantry. We also have a box for small electronics and batteries recycling. So if you have anything like that that you need to bring in, we have a box collecting for that as well. All right. Now we are going to go on to our committee moments. So if you are a committee head or a committee member that has anything to notate to the congregation, please come up now. Or you can feel free to raise your hand and I will bring you a microphone.
Greetings, everyone. David McElroy. Tomorrow night is the men's support group at 6:30. Potluck or bring your own. If you are a man and you've not been there before, or if you identify as a man, if you have not been there before, please come and see me and we'll talk about it and tell you all the information.
Hi, Lori Streel, Hospitality. And I'm beginning to collect things again. I'm going to put these in the lost and found if anyone would like their belongings back. They showed up after potluck last time. And I'll be wandering around after service looking for more baristas for the coffee service. Thank you.
Jill Vita for Women's Group. We had a wonderful time last night here listening to our beautiful Michelle. It was a great night. We're going to meet again the first Friday in June, which I believe is the 8th. No, I think the first is a Saturday. So the 7th. Thank you. Thank you, Caitlin. So yeah, we'll meet here and we'll plan for our next maybe a beach day or something over the summer. So.
Ann Pack, I'm representing the board. Just a reminder to everybody that our annual meeting is next Sunday here, right after service. We usually have some little snacks to keep everybody tided over. So please plan to be here. This is when we elect our new officers for the next year and vote on the budget. So it's an important meeting, and so hope you all can be here.
Hi. So tomorrow night there's going to be the men's group, but there's also going to be an Article 2 meeting. And everybody's invited, but particularly new people and people who did not have a chance to participate in our series of discussions last year. So again, Article 2 contains a lot of foundational text, but the 7 principles, so they might go away, and we'll be talking about that and other changes. So hope to see you tomorrow night.
We have one more.
The program planning meeting. I know you guys can read, but 5 o'clock in person in the conference room on Wednesday.
Lovely. All right. So for my opening words today, I thought about how it's Mother's Day and how growing up, everyone told me that I look exactly like my mother and that I am very much like her. Now, both of us steadfastly decided that we did not agree with that. Just absolutely disagreed with everybody's decision that we looked a lot alike. But the more that I was confused from my mother, I eventually got to the point where people would confuse us just by knowing which one is which from afar. So we have great genetics. But not only do my mom and I look alike, but we also have the same favorite color, the same sense of style, the almost same shoe size, but her feet are a little smaller than mine, unfortunately. But I also got my mom's artistic abilities, my mom's sense of humor, my mom's genuine love and devotion and loyalty to the people she loves. Oh my God, I'm about to cry. Anytime anyone says, I'm like my mom now, I say thank you, because my mom is pretty friggin' awesome, and I'm very lucky to be anything like her. Thank you. Oh, I got clapped. It's now time for our opening music. Now I Recall My Childhood, which will be performed by Alicia Tran and led by Janet Levins. And I will not be singing, she will be.
All three verses, please rise in body or spirit. Now I recall my childhood when the sun was to my bed with thy dear surprise. Within the marvelous bloomed on you each dawn, flowers bursting fresh within my heart each day. Then looking on the world with simple joy, and in 6 birds and beasts and common weeds, the grass and clouds and farthest wealth of all, my mother's voice gave meaning to the stars. Now when I turn to think of coming death, I find a song in star songs of the night, in rise of curtains and new morning light, in life reborn, in fresh surprise of love.
Thank you, guys. Our chalice lighter is already coming up. He's ready. Oh, this is Chase. He's 13 years old, and he is excited because he went to the pool yesterday, right? Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Oh, I don't have a candle in there. That's not helpful. Yeah, there you go. There it goes. All right, you want the other one out? Good job. Thank you, buddy. The candle decided to not stay lit, so it's lit. Just pretend. In the light of truth, in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. We also like to affirm our time together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. We just want to take the time to welcome everyone here again with us. Thank you for joining us here today, whether it is in person or online. As I mentioned, online people, let's take a moment to wave to our online people in the back. They are facing me, but behind you guys. Thank you for joining us today, online or in person. We welcome you guys to come back a few times because we have a wide variety of speakers and sermons that give people who give talks here from differing faith to professors of differing subjects and everything that falls in between. So we also have a called minister that speaks to us twice a month. We're lucky enough to have her speaking to us today as well. Can you now maybe take about 30 seconds to greet anybody around you and listen for me to call you back? All righty. Good morning, good morning. What does a waterfall sound like? Shh. Thank you, Amy Mowbray. She definitely taught me that one, and I've used it multiple times. Thank you all for knowing what a waterfall sounds like. Shh. We have come to the point in our service called Joys and Concerns. Where a joy shared here can be echoed with the happiness, and a concern shared here can have some of the weight lifted off of your shoulders. Please just remember that, like I mentioned before, we are being broadcast to the World Wide Web. So make sure that anything you say, you wouldn't mind being shared with the internet. You can feel free to come up to the mic, or if you raise your hand, I can bring a mic to you. I was going to say, that's very strange if we don't have any joys and concerns.
Well, I never do like being first, but I think this is important. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there and all of you that have mothers. I think that's all of us. I have a particular joy to share about my wife. Chloe talked about her, and now I'm going to talk about her. On May 16th, 1978, 46 years ago, I met Marilyn in Barrett, Wisconsin. We were there for summer stock. I was out of New York. She had just graduated, and I walked up to her because she had a New Orleans shirt on, and I said, "Oh, do I know you from New York?" And she went, "No." Of course, I was looking at more than the New Orleans. And she subsequently didn't really have a lot to do with me until we worked together in the kitchen one day, and we started getting along. And then we happened to have the same day off, and then I asked her to marry me on the third date. And 46 years later, here we are still together. So happy Mother's Day, and I have my beautiful children here with me as well, so thank you.
Okay, I went to the pool today and I jumped on the chicken.
Okay, Addie wants me to share her joys that she gets to go to Disney World today. Epcot. Yeah. And then my joy on this Mother's Day are the three mother-like figures in mine and Addie's life. My wonderful wife, my own mom, who I have a great relationship with, and then my mother-in-law, who I have a really good relationship with, and just their examples every day is just amazing. So, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
My joy on Mother's Day is that all three of my girls are home. One of them's here. We just got back last night from a lovely trip to Dublin, and we had really good weather. Like, this never happens. So we had a really nice time there. We also celebrated Maddie getting her associate's degree. So that was a big deal. And again, I wanted to thank my husband as well, because it's really difficult to mother without a partner with you. And he went out and got the mimosas for moms that we're going to have afterward at the very last minute. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Furmanek. If you didn't know me before, you what? We'll have to wear the same dress next week. We got the same dress. I have a joy that we are going to keep our trip out west, even with my bad ankle and bad knee. Oh, Lord, I'm falling apart. And, I guess I won't hike down the Grand Canyon, because I've heard that if you can't get back up and you have to be airlifted, it's $25,000.
The fact that she had to do that research is very interesting, too. Obviously, my joy is all of the mothers and people who are doing the job alone, as well as anybody who is struggling to conceive right now. My heart is with everyone that wants to be a mother, that is a mother, and that represents motherhood without actually having children of their own. So, big joy. So let's just take a moment of silence to think about all of the joys and concerns that remain unspoken. Thank you. I believe we have time for all ages now, and I'm going to welcome up our religious education coordinator, James.
Good morning, everyone, and again, happy Mother's Day. So, let me take this out. Different people experience Mother's Day in many different ways. One common experience involves noticing good things and kind acts done by mothers and mother figures in our lives that we may not notice as much every day, and then bringing them up and thanking people for them. And that's lovely, but it's a shame that we don't often notice these things regularly, and not just because it often means that we don't say thank you as often as we should. In fact, there are lots of good things and kind acts that we don't really notice on an everyday basis, or don't really tend to think about or remember when we do. We humans have a tendency to notice and remember things that make us stressed or scared or hurt. Evolutionarily, it makes sense. If an area has a big scary lion in it, for instance, it's very important to remember to stay away from it. Same thing with berries that make us sick or fire that burns. But sometimes, even often, our brains focus so much on the scary and stressful and hurtful things that we don't pay enough attention to the really nice and good and kind things around us too. Sometimes that can make the whole world seem scary and stressful and hurtful, even though there's also a lot of kindness and goodness and beauty around us as well. But we can change our brains, make them more likely to notice and remember the good things around us. The more we have our brains do something, whether that's math problems or reading or noticing good things and kind actions, the easier it becomes for our brains to do it. Kind of like the more often we practice riding a bicycle, the better at it we become. And so I'd like to suggest we all try to get some practice noticing the good around us this week, especially any acts of kindness we see. And we can get started right now. I'd like everyone to take a moment to try to think of something good and kind they saw or heard about recently. It doesn't have to be big. It can be small, a cheery greeting, holding the door open for someone, picking up a piece of litter. When you have something in mind, raise your hand and I'll come around and you can share it. I see someone already has one going. Yay, my weekly exercise.
Yesterday, as we were going to get, me and my roommate were going to get food, there was just a family that was walking by, and a little boy just waved hi at us, and it was just a really sweet thing, and it made my day.
Aww.
So right over here, when we were coming to church this morning, there was this little baby raccoon crossing the road, and everybody stopped both ways and let him cross.
Aww.
I just want to say thank you to Jules, who gives me a hug every Sunday that she's here and makes my day every single time.
So many awes.
As I was checking my phone this morning to make sure it had been silenced, I looked at it and I had an incoming call, but the phone was silenced, so that was good. It was my son and his family and my grandkids all calling to wish me Happy Mother's Day.
Okay.
This is a bigger thing, but I had surgery about a month ago, and my sister has been walking my dogs, not chaos demons, twice a day, every day. Sometimes she's walking 4 dogs at once, and she's amazing. So that's something.
Thank you.
Picnic Swast.
Addie and her classmates picked up trash at the playground at school.
Aww. Okay, do I see any more hands? Okay. Thank you everyone so much for sharing all those wonderful feel-good stories. My little heart is warm. I hope we can all take this into our lives this week and really pay attention to the goodness and kindness around us. And also, as always, I hope we can add to it as well. Thank you. I will get this on here.
That'd be fine. Does anybody? Okay. cool. All right. It is now time for our interlude and offering. We have The Gift of Love, which is going to be performed by the UUF choir, and Alicia Tran is going to play the piano for us. Hello, it's me again. So if you have not noticed yet, our lovely Reverend Tracie is running a little bit behind. Oh yes, we have the children's recessional that my dad is pointing to, so that kill a little time. We also always welcome, but if you feel so inclined, we will welcome you to follow our lovely RE staff out. Alicia, you want to start us? We love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. Thank you, Alicia. All right. Like I was saying before, we have our lovely Reverend Tracie running a little bit behind. So I was going to invite anybody up to share your favorite motherhood story. Anybody got a good one? No? I can just start Googling good motherhood stories. Oh, Paul is coming up.
I'm not going to tell you a story about my mother. I'm going to tell you a story about my sister. She has 4 kids, the sister who's younger than me. She has 4 kids, and they were always, she rode herd on them. Like, if she wasn't watching them every single minute, they might do something that would result in their death or eternal damnation. And so she rode them pretty hard and was very, very strict about their behavior. And she also thought that ignorance was the equivalent of innocence. And I don't think anybody here is fooled by that one. But she was hoping that that was the way it was, and so there were a lot of things she didn't tell her children. Enter Auntie Paula, Ersatzmutti. And so I would slide in there whenever I went to visit them or they came to visit me. I would arrange my time there so that I had at least 1 hour alone with each of her kids. And so I had a chance to share with them the information, the handy information about how to get along with other people and what consent or lack thereof means, a whole raft of stuff. And when they were in their early teens, I introduced each one of them to the idea of condoms and who's responsible for them and why, and how to make sure that somebody's using one, all that kind of stuff. So I had this kind of relationship with her kids as their substitute mom to tell them the things that their mom did not.
Get some exercise. Ooh, we got some more. Okay, cool.
The Korean War, 52, 53. I'm 8 years old. My mother is living in the family, Wanda London, and sister 12, Barry 8. We're living in Atlanta, and we get notice that we're to join my dad in Japan during the Korean War. So she has to sell the home, arrange for all the furniture to be shipped to the coast to go overseas, and then drive these 2 children across to Seattle. So somewhere in Tennessee, she manages to get this little Nash Rambler in front of a big tractor trailer truck. And once it gets over the hill and it's coming down, she doesn't know how to get out of its way, and she just steps on it, and she's holding on this Nash Rambler. She finally gets away from the truck, and we're breathing well, and a Tennessee state trooper pulls her over. Little lady, where are you going? She looks up at him and says, I'm on my way to Japan, and I'm late.
I got one more.
Sound love like there's.
I wanted to hear the one last motherhood story we have.
Oh boy.
This is a story I'm telling on my mother-in-law, my first mother-in-law, who, as we were planning the wedding that my family was paying for, insisted that we had to invite the Makovecks and the Buzinskis. And my then-to-be husband said, who are they? And she said, I grew up with Rudy Makovec. He was like my brother. We cannot invite them. Well, okay, Mom, but why the Buzinskis? Well, they married sisters. So, therefore, if you invite the Makovecks, you have to invite the Buzinskis. Well, back and forth a little bit, and finally we said, fine, we'll add them to the guest list. And we did. We invited them. And we never saw them at the reception. And we found out later that they came a week early and sat through somebody else's wedding, not knowing it wasn't ours.
Well, see, y'all didn't even need me here today.
I'm excited that Reverend Dr. Tracie?
Yeah.
Reverend Dr. Tracie
Reverend Dr.
was a little late because we now got to hear a couple cool stories. Welcome
Thank you, and thank you all. Thank you. I apologize for being late. Something came up. That's a story I cannot tell that took a little longer than I had anticipated. So thank you, Chloe, for using your skills. This is why Chloe is an amazing worship leader, y'all, because that's some massive improv right there, and I appreciate that. Oh, thank goodness. So for most of our history, we've been taught that Anna Jarvis started Mother's Day in 1908 when she decided to honor her mother. However, Mother's Day, with the apostrophe on the other side of the S, was started in the 1870s, and it was started by a Unitarian. Heather Cox Richardson says that this Mother's Day started when, quote, the sheer enormity of the death caused by the Civil War and the Franco-Prussian War convinced writer and reformer Julia Ward Howe that women must take control of politics from the men who had permitted such carnage. Mother's Day was not designed to encourage people to be nice to their mothers. It was part of the women's effort to gain power to change society. Right? But first, who was Julia Ward Howe? Well, she was born in New York City on May 27th, 1819, so her birthday is coming up if you wish to honor her. She was the third oldest of 6 children when her mother died in childbirth. When she was 16, her formal education ended, but her family connections gave her access to a wealthy and privileged circle. When she was 21, this wealthy and privileged circle, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and Charles Sumner brought her to Boston to tour the Perkins Institute for the Blind. And it was there that she met, fell in love with, and in 1843 married Samuel Gridley Howe. Now, Samuel was the Perkins director, a radical abolitionist, and 18 years Julia's senior. Now, Samuel preferred that his wife not take an activist role out in the world, and Julia felt stifled by that. She stayed in the marriage despite that and Samuel's frequent absences, as she devoted time to her own children and her own education. In the time before the Civil War, she supported Samuel's causes and worked on the Commonwealth, an abolitionist newspaper, with him. In 1961, she traveled to Washington, D.C. and met Abraham Lincoln. And while present for a reviewing of the troops, the men started singing the fighting song, John Brown's Body, that had some raunchy lyrics for its time. Her minister, James Freeman Clark, who was also present, encouraged Julia to, write some new words to the tune as a fighting song for the men. And about the writing of the lyrics, Julia Ward Howe said, I went to bed that night as usual and slept, according to my wont, quite soundly. I awoke in the gray of the morning twilight as I lay waiting for the dawn. The long lines of the desired poem began to twine themselves in my mind. Having thought out all the stanzas, I said to myself, I must get up and write these verses down, lest I fall asleep again and forget them. So with a sudden effort, I sprang out of bed and found in the dimness an old stump of a pencil, which I remembered to have used the day before. I scrawled the verses almost without looking at the paper. Has anyone ever done that? Have you ever had like a writing thing you need to write down, and you just have to get up right then and write it? I've been there. The Battle Hymn of the Republic became one of the most popular Union songs during the Civil War. That is what she wrote. And it's still popular as a patriotic music for movies, shows, sports, all kinds of things. She published the lyrics of the Battle Hymn of the Republic in the Atlantic Monthly in February of 1862. Julia Ward Howe continued to write and publish, including publishing 11 issues of a literary magazine, Northern Lights, in 1867. And after the Civil War ended, she focused on world peace and women's suffrage. Now, by 1868, Samuel figured he couldn't really stop Julia, and so she was able to become a more public activist. So in the 1870s, she organized the Women's Ministerial Conference, which helped lead a group of women to form the Iowa Sisterhood, who one of their members founded First Unitarian downtown. So we have a bit of a connection there, a little 6 degrees separation. It was also in the 1870s that Julia began to crusade for peace. She gathered women together for World Peace Congresses, and after the Second Peace Convention, Julia helped organize an American branch of the Women's International Peace Association. It was in 1872 that she developed a plan for a Mother's Peace Day, which is the predecessor to today. Her proclamation for this day was a cry that someone, anyone, but in her eyes, mothers especially, to find a way to stop the carnage of war. Julia Ward Howe believed strongly that women had a responsibility to shape their societies at the political level. Now, there is an edited version of her proclamation in our hymnals. However, today I want to read the entirety of what she published as her proclamation. But first, 2 notes. 1, Unitarianism was still a Christian denomination at this time. 2, these are the original words, and therefore they are gendered, but I wanted to preserve them for this read-through. Here now is the original Mother's Day Peace Proclamation. Again, in the sight of the Christian world, have the skill and power of 2 great nations exhausted themselves in mutual murder. Again, have the sacred questions of international justice been committed to the fatal mediation of military weapons? In this day of progress, in this century of light, the ambition of rulers has been allowed to barter the dear interests of domestic life for the bloody exchanges of the battlefield. Thus men have done, thus men will do. But women need no longer be made a party to proceedings which fill the globe with grief and horror. Despite the assumptions of physical force, the mother has a sacred and commanding word to say to the sons who owe their life to her suffering. That word should now be heard and answered to as never before. Arise then, Christian women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether your baptism be that of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, women of one country, will be too tender to those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence vindicate possession. As men have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of council. Let them meet first as women to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them then solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, man as the brother of man, each bearing after his own kind the sacred impress, not of Caesar, but of God. In the name of womanhood and of humanity, I earnestly ask that a general Congress of women without limit of nationality may be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient and at the earliest period consistent with its objects to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, and the great and general interests of peace. 1870, 150 years ago. And now here we are, in 2024 with wars and destruction all around us. It's almost like we could use looking back at the original Mother's Day. So let's take a look at it in chunks, and this time I'm going to update the language. Again, in the sight of the entire world, have the skill and power of many great nations exhausted themselves in mutual murder. Again, have the sacred questions of international justice been committed to the fatal mediation of military weapons. In this day of progress, in this century of light, the ambition of rulers has been allowed to barter the dear interests of domestic life for the bloody exchanges of the battlefield. Thus we have done, thus we will do. But we need no longer be made a party to proceedings which fill the globe with grief and horror. Despite the assumptions of physical force, we all have a sacred and commanding word to say to those who owe their life to our mutual suffering. That word should now be heard and answered to as never before. We, all of us. Sure, we don't make the decisions that the powers have made to go to war or not, to support the making of war or not, but we do make the decisions that lead to the ability of the powers to make those decisions. The ambition of rulers has been allowed, but we need no longer be made a party to proceedings which fill the globe with grief and horror. Not just that, but in our day-to-day living, are we carrying out peace or war? Let's continue. Arise then, all people of this day. Arise, all people who have hearts, whether your baptism be that of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our partners shall not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our children shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, people of one country, will be too tender to those of another country to allow our children to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up and with our own, and it says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence vindicate possession. As we have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let us now all leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of counsel. We will be too tender to allow our children to be trained to injure those of another country. It will take all of us saying no more to make this stop. Let them meet first as grieving humans to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them then solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, one as the sibling of another, each bearing after their own kind the sacred impress not of government, but of the mystery that ties us all together. We are all interconnected. Whether you believe in God, a great mystery, or simply the fact that we are biologically tied to one another and the rest of life on this blue dot, we are all connected. And the things we do to one another will eventually affect us all. In the name of humanity, I earnestly ask that a general Congress of humans without limit of nationality may be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient. The internet's really good for that. And at the earliest period consistent with its objects to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. Are we asking too much? Maybe. We've been accused of being pie in the sky, kumbaya believers before. So have many of our prophetic people. No matter what, if we do nothing, nothing will change. Friends, could we attempt to make change by making sure that our voices are heard? The voices of our neighbors are heard, the voices of those who are often not heard. Can we make sure they're heard? Could we work for peace in our big and small ways in our communities and beyond? Could we join Julia Ward Howe in saying, disarm, disarm, the sword of murder is not the balance of justice? I call on each one of you here and those who will see this later. Arise then, all people of this day. Arise, all people who have hearts, whether your baptism be of that of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. We have a lot of work to do, and time's ticking. But let's get to it. And on this Mother's Day, let us all birth world peace this year. Amen. May it be so, and blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend Tracie. Reverend Doctor? Reverend Doctor. I'm going to get it right eventually. We got to add that extra title in there, you know. You worked hard for it. All right, let me find where I am. All right, thank you, Reverend Dr. Tracie. We now move to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame.
But not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our
Hearts until we are together again. Our closing music today is one of my favorites, which is For All That Is Our Life. Janet Levins again will lead us, and Alicia Tran will play for us.
Please rise and bow to your spirit. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For our life is our gift, that we are called to use, to build the common good. Make our own death glad. For we will love or serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. And all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failure, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful loves that pass, we come with praise and thanks. And all that is our life.
Thank you. We'll get better at following. For my closing words today, I took my closing words from the Barbie movie. If anyone would like to see it, I've seen it 6 times so far. I'm always down for lucky number 7. And that's the reason I chose to wear my I Am Knuff shirt, because the Barbie movie is actually a wonderful film if you haven't gotten a chance to see it. I chose a quote from it that is said by the creator of Barbie, and she says, I can't control you more than I could control my own daughter. I named you after her, Barbara, and I always hoped for you like I hoped for her. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back and see how far they've come. I welcome the postlude now, Mother, I Love You, and it will be performed by Alicia Tran. Go in peace. Happy Mother's Day.